Within a few weeks, we will all go to Italy. I'll go to Italy for the 60th anniversary of the Treaty of Rome, and often described as a big success and as a big leap forward in 1946. And a year later, in 1947, in Albert Hall in London, Churchill, the British bulldog, made it very clear what he wanted. He said, and I quote him, "I present the idea of a united Europe in which our country, Britain, will play a decisive part as a member of the European family." Moreover, Churchill, and it's good to remember that, against the Prime Minister of that time, Attlee, wanted Britain even to participate in the European steel and coal community. But he lost the vote in the British Parliament with 309 against 296. A small difference, I should say. Indeed, dear colleagues, it's good to remember, at that time, Tories were openly pro-European. And now, more than 60 years later, I think, and we think, that with this report, the European Union needs also a profound reform again. Because let's face the reality, our union is in crisis. Our European Union doesn't have a lot of friends, not at home and certainly also not abroad. And the Union doesn't deliver anymore. It's always too little, too late. And that is, in my opinion, the reason why many people and many citizens are angry in Europe. They are not against Europe, they are against a union that doesn't deliver the right results, that is not capable, for example, to find the right answers to the refugee crisis, that is not capable to give answers to the migration flows, that is not capable to break down the economic stagnation after the financial crisis of 2008. People are not against Europe, they want more Europe to face these challenges. But they are critical, that's true, towards the way the European Union works today. And that's the reason for these three reports, Mr. President. Brexit, Trump, Putin. I think that there are reasons enough to reform our European Union and to do it in a very profound way.
But if we do, they're in big, big trouble.
In fact, also creating a single seat for the European Parliament. We want a more democratic union also, by reforming the European elections, by expanding the process of the Spitzenkandidaten, by also reforming and turning the European Council in what we call a Council of States. Besides the European Parliament, we, the representatives of the citizens. And furthermore, we want also a stronger union, a better protection for the civil liberties in the Union, a Union with and a Eurozone with a government, with a fiscal capacity, with a finance minister, with own resources, with a convergence code, with conditionality. So I think that these reports, Mr. President, give a good blueprint of what is necessary for the future. And that is not a battle between the European Union on the one hand and the nation states on the other hand. No, Europe needs both. We propose in these reports also a green card, for example, for the national parliaments, like also a right of initiative for this European Parliament and for the European Council. Once these reports are adopted, I hope on Thursday, what's the way forward? I think there is one way forward. That is to present and to propose to the European Commission, Mr. Vice President, and also to the European Council, to start an interinstitutional reflection exercise on this. And we can better do it together. We have a good experience with the Monti report on the own resources. Why do we not do the same? And that is not a luxury, dear colleagues, these reports. It's an absolute necessity. Thank you.
Honorable Brok.
Mr. Brok.
President,
Vice President, colleagues. The citizens expect solutions of Europe. They are angry with Europe because they are not seeing those answers delivered. Member states refuse to give the EU the tools it needs to solve the problems that exist. Many problems can only be solved if we pull together. Some would suggest that we should fragment Europe and let everyone go it alone. No, Europe is more than just the sum of all member states. It must be more if it wishes to exert influence in the world. We face
challenges, a convergence code which puts on an equal footing social issues, environmental issues and economic and budgetary issues. And that is really what is at stake here, the future of the European Union.
Per il gruppo
For the groups of Europe, Freedom and Direct Democracy, Mr. Farage.
I feel like I'm attending a meeting of a religious sect here this morning. It's as if the global revolution of 2016, Brexit, Trump, the Italian rejection in the referendum has completely bypassed you. You can't face up to the fact that this bandwagon is going to roll across Europe in these elections in 2017. A lot of citizens now recognise this form of centralised government simply doesn't work. Whether it's the miseries inflicted upon a country like Greece by the euro, the unemployment caused by bad regulation, or the feeling that none of us are as safe in our cities because of the disastrous common asylum policy. But at the heart of it is a fundamental point. Mr Verhofstadt this morning said the people want more Europe. They don't. The people want less Europe. And we see this again and again when people have referendums and they reject aspects of EU membership. But something more fundamental is going on out there. Yes, you can say they're lying, and I've no doubt that many of you here, when you hear what I'm about to say, will probably despise your own voters. Because just last week, Chatham House, the reputable group, published a massive survey from 10 European member states, and only 20% of people want immigration from Muslim countries to continue. Just 20% want us to keep on allowing people in from Muslim countries, which means your voters have a harder line position on this than Donald Trump or myself or frankly any party sitting in this Parliament. And that is where we're going. And I simply cannot believe that you're blind to the fact that even Mrs Merkel has now made a U-turn and wants to send people back. Even Mr Schulz thinks that it's a good idea. The fact is, the European Union has no future at all in its current form, and I suspect you're in for as big a shock in 2017 as you were in 16.
per il gruppo Europa delle Nazioni delle
For the Europe of Nations and Freedom, Mr. Annemans. Colleagues, the European Union is very artificial. It is something which has been man-made. It has not really grown naturally out of the people. It's a concept of an elite, the founding fathers, as you call them, who, with a lot of propaganda and with a series of treaties, try to keep this whole beast alive. This is a very unnatural construction, and therefore you get a lot of unnatural effects. And the fact that clearly indicates this is that here we play the tune of the federal music. Normally the European Parliament should be the engine of the protest.